Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Famed novelist Anne Rice passed away Saturday at the age of 80. While she will first and foremost be remembered as an iconic writer of gothic horror, most notably for her Vampire Chronicles series, her advocacy for LGBTQ rights and steadfast support of her enthusiastic gay fan base would become an essential part of her legacy. Her son, Christopher Rice, who is gay and is himself an accomplished writer, shared the news of his mother's passing on her Facebook page. The immensity of our family's grief cannot be overstated. As my mother, her support for me was unconditional. She taught me to embrace my dreams, reject conformity, and to challenge the dark voices of fear and self-doubt, he wrote. As a writer, she taught me to defy genre boundaries and surrender to my obsessive passions. I have a gay sensibility. Rice wrote the first and most famous book in the Vampire Chronicles series, Interview with a Vampire, in 1976. At the time, she was mourning the loss of her 5-year-old daughter, Michelle, one of her 2 children, with poet Stan Rice. While the book failed to impress critics, it became an immediate commercial success, in a large part because of its popularity among gay readers. The novel centers on vampires Louis Lestat. Louis tells a young reporter whom he meets in a dark Francisco bar about immortal life alongside his sinister and seductive maker, Lestat. And he relates to how the two took in a young child, Claudia, while living in New Orleans and proceeded to parent her over decades as she remained physically frozen in time. The domestic plotline and erotic dialogue made the novel ripe for queer readers, and which Rice would confirm over the years. In a 2012 interview, she called Louise and Lestat the first vampire same-sex parents, and she later said that Claudia was likely unconsciously inspired by her daughter, and while she and Stan were the inspirations for her vampire fathers. In an interview with the Daily Beast 2017, Rice said that she was very honoured that people thought Interview with the Vampire, which was an adaptation into a film in 1994 starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, is currently in development as a TV series, was a gay allergy. She then said, "I've always been very much a champion of gay rights and art produced by gay people." Rice would continue to return to the characters introduced in the Interview with the Vampire over the 4 decades of Vampire Chronicle works. Close relationships between men were often at the heart of these novels and populated the queer readings of her work. And at least one of her books, the 2002 novel Blackwood Farm, includes a transgender character, though in line that she would consistently adopt, she said that it was not a conscious decision to write them that way. "I think I have a gay sensibility and I feel like I'm gay because I've always transcended gender and I've always seen the love as transcending gender," she said in a 2017 interview regarding the persuasiveness of queer characters in her writing. "In my books, I've always just created bonds of love that have transcended gender." Fear in America. Rice's ties to the LGBTQ community were deemed and made more personal when Christopher came out as gay after graduating from high school. The Advocate ran a cover story about Christopher in 2000, in which he said that he thought his mother took his coming out harder than his father did, because of what he perceived as her mother having a strong desire, relative to his father's, to having any grandchildren someday. For her part, Rice said that she was shocked by the revelation because she thought he was straight and that she worried about him having to face difficulties due to homophobia, but said that his coming out didn't diminish her love for him. People respond in a very different way to what being gay means, and there's still an enormous amount of fear in America. There are still hate crimes, there is still a lot of conscious raising, and it has to be done, but not with us. I was worried, as anyone would be, that Chris would face obstacles and prejudice, but I did not love him a one drop bit less, she said. Early life in New Orleans and leaving Christianity. Though Rice spent much of her adult life in California, where Christopher was born and raised, her upbringing in New Orleans greatly influenced her work and her trajectory as an LGBTQ advocate. Born Howard Allen Francis O'Brien in 1941, Rice was raised in New Orleans by Irish Catholic parents. Her father was named Howard. For decades, she maintained a tenuous relationship with the Roman Catholic Church, rejecting and readapting religion at various times in her life. After Religious Awakening in 1998, she even wrote a series of Christian-themed novels. But in 2010, Rice announced that she had left the Christian faith permanently via a post on her Facebook page. "For those who care, and I understand if you don't, today I quit being a Christian. I'm out. I remain committed to Christ as always, but not to being a Christian or to being part of Christianity. It's simply impossible for me to belong to this quarrelsome, hostile, dictatorial and devilishly infamous group. For 10 years, I've tried, I've failed, I'm an outsider. My conscience will allow nothing else," she wrote. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times following the announcement, she cited the Pope's unwillingness to help address the AIDS epidemic as one of the reasons she was leaving the church. She also told NPR that the church's stance on gay marriage was a key factor in her decision. I didn't anticipate at the beginning that US bishops were going to come out against the same-sex marriage, but they were actually going to donate money to defeat the civil rights of homosexuals in a secure secretary. When the news broke in the news, I felt an intense pressure, she added. And I am a person who grew up with the saying that if all is needed for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing, and I believe in that statement. First LGBTQ ally. Among the fans sharing resemblance and voices of their grief online since Rice's death are members of the LGBTQ community, many of whom expressed their gratitude for her lifelong status as an ally. Writer, actor and activist Flame Fairchild wrote a Medium post calling Rice her friend and first LGBTQ ally, recalling that she first reached out to Rice in the early 2000s via the email address listed on the author's website. Not only did Rice respond, she encouraged Fairchild's refound writing aspirations. At the time, I was navigating difficult territory of gender and sexuality, and she was the first person I came out to as gay, Fairchild said in the piece. Anne, although I've never heard her voice, felt like a safe place. She gave me confidence to live authentically, telling me, "Your life is a story, every day is a new page, live a story worthy of telling again and again." In 2009, Fairchild came out to Rice again, this time as a transgender. In typical Anne fashion, she thought it was fabulous, Fairchild remembered. She told me at the time that she believed transgender people were scared that we possessed a unique gift of life experience that few ever would, which would allow us to see the world from a view of the greatest of heights. She shared with me stories of trans figures in history that she had learned about in her own extensive studies. The most fascinating figures in my mythology were always transgender or genderless, she once told me. And in so many cultures, reaching back thousands of years, transgender and intersex people were deified, perceived as wise and powerful. Anne Rice was the first person who made me feel like it was okay to be comfortable in my skin, and that my journey as a transgender woman was special, not because I was by any means odd, weird or different, but that I was worthy of celebrating, because my very existence was a remark on the magic of a complex human condition, she continued. A number of people have shared the screenshot from Fairchild's remembrance to give thanks to Rice for her pro-transgender stance, with some contrasting it with the anti-trans rhetoric that had come from fellow author J.K. Rowling in recent years. A legacy still in the making. During a 45 career that had a stunning impact on the LGBTQ culture, Rice wrote more than 40 books covering multiple genres. The best-selling author's legacy will not live only in the work she left behind and through her LGBTQ advocacy, but in the new projects yet to be released. Ramses the Damned, The Reign of Osiris, her second collaboration with her son and sequels to the 2017's Ramses the Damned, The Passion of Cleopatra, is set to be published February 1st by Penguin Random House. And last year, it was announced that Rice had sold the studio rights to the two of her most popular series of books, The Vampire Chronicles and Lives of the Mayfair Witches. Her son will serve as executive producer of any TV and film project that result from the deal. Thanks for listening. For more celebrity news, please like, comment, and subscribe.